I saw a post on Twitter where someone posted about how they've made UGC content creation their full-time job. And in the back of my head I went, wow, this is actually happening. User-generated content or even creator-generated content has completely changed the way people perceive ad creatives, especially marketers. That is a big thing. But I've also heard a lot of people talk about how UGC is going to peak in the next 6 to 7 months. Now, I personally don't agree with that because I feel like we've barely scratched the surface when it comes to UGC content. As a marketer, I've had the opportunity to work with loads of content creators and I've met people that are extremely creative. Some of you guys are really quick learners, and I've also met some content creators that are really good with marketing psychology, marketing in general. So one thing I'm going to bet on is the fact that UGC is here to stay for a while. Now, I can go on and on about the positives. The topic of today's video is to address some common mistakes that I see a lot of UGC content creators make and how you can easily fix these problems. Hey, I'm Mo. I'm a creative strategist / agency owner / content creator. And on this channel, we talk about content creation, digital marketing, and marketing psychology. And if that's something of interest to you, then come join me on this journey and hit that subscribe button. Now, the most common mistake that I see content creators make is not knowing about the camera technicals. You don't necessarily need to know everything about how a camera works, but knowing the basics help. Now, one of the things that you should be aware of is resolution. Essentially, resolution is the quality of the image. It's not rocket science. The higher the resolution, the better the quality. Now, I say this because I've received really good content from some amazing content creators, and they shot their visuals with low resolution settings. And that's like literally pouring water over all of their hard work. So before you even start shooting, make sure that you've gone onto your camera settings and changed the resolution to anywhere between 1080p to 4K. Now, I know a lot of cameras shoot up to 8K, but I personally feel like that's an overkill. 8K footage is gonna be large. And one thing you'll notice over time as you shoot more and more content for different brands and different clients, your storage is gonna get full very, very easily. Later in this video, I'll talk to you guys about file management and file structuring, so make sure you stick around till the end of this video to get all of that information. Cool, so you've got your resolution correct. The next thing that you should kind of know about is frame rates. Okay, so let me break down frame rates or FPS for you. Batch of images that are being played back at a certain speed. And when certain images are played back at a certain speed, our brain perceives it to be as image in motion rather than individual frames. The standard FPS is 30 frames per second, which is there's 30 images being captured in that second. FPS isn't that important when you're first starting out, but as you start working with bigger clients, you'll come to realize that a lot of these clients have dedicated designers that edit the content that you send back to them. And when you shoot above 60 frames per second, it gives the designer the capability to manipulate the video in multiple different ways, especially when it comes to slowing it down. Again, you might be thinking in the back of your head, does it really make a difference? I personally say yes, because if your content can be repurposed in multiple different ways, i.e. it can be slowed down, then you allow that client to utilize your asset in multiple different ads. And because they're using your asset quite a bit, the chances of you getting repeat work from that client also increases. And I'd also recommend researching a little bit about f-stops, ISOs and shutter speed. Again, it's not that important for you to know, but if you have that knowledge, it gives you an upper hand. Now, the second common issue that I see is creators sending back content that's not well lit, i.e. your lighting. I personally say lighting is the most important thing when it comes to content, especially videos, because when you shoot in a dark place or an environment which is not well lit, the quality of the image or the video is kind of shitty. It looks grainy, it has a lot of noise. So every time you shoot, ensure that the environment that you're in is well lit. One way to do that is using natural light. That's my personal favorite as well. You know, just shoot against the window or go outdoors if you can. But if you're stuck in a basement apartment like myself, then maybe think about investing in some sort of lighting. A ring light, for example, would be amazing. But don't just go ahead and buy some cheap ring light off of Amazon. Those ring lights don't really do the job very well. You want to invest in a ring light which is actually capable of lighting up the environment or the subject that you want to capture. Below the like button in the description, I'm going to attach a link to a ring light that I would personally recommend. So yeah, make sure that you're shooting in a well-lit environment. Okay, so you've done your research about camera technicals, you've got your lighting correct, and you've captured all the assets that you need to capture. Looks amazing. Cool. What's next? So this is another common issue that I see happening a lot, which is file management. I've had content creators send me content on WhatsApp. And if you've ever used WhatsApp, you know WhatsApp degrades video quality. So imagine like you're shooting 4K footage and then you send it over to me on WhatsApp and it's compressed down to 360p. It just looks terrible. And I've also had instances where, you know, I've received some amazing content on WeTransfer. And sometimes, you know, people get busy, and with WeTransfer, the link expires after 7 days. And I actually ended up losing a lot of content once. Not a good experience. So whenever I'm working with a content creator, I personally recommend them to upload their content onto Google Drive or even Dropbox. And from my own experience shooting content for clients, I've had my fair share of asset management, and I've kind of devised this folder structure that I'm going to share with you guys in the next second. I'm in Google Drive, and yeah, I recommend using a cloud storage because you never know what could happen on your local drive. And the other benefit of using a cloud storage is that you can upload stuff directly from your phone. As you can see here, there's this thing called a template folder structure. So you make this once and that's it. I'll tell you the reason why in a second. So within the template folder structure, you've got the client name. This is the client that you're working with. And then inside of that, you're going to have something called campaign. It's for you to know what day you've shot the content for the client and a unique name, so you know, okay, this is the thing that I've shot. This is for your own sanity. And then inside of that, you're going to have something, again, quite simple: images and videos. This is a really good starting point, and obviously as things get complicated, you can tweak this folder structure for your own needs. So here's the reason why I personally prefer Google Drive. You can download something called Google File Stream. You know, what Google File Stream then allows you to do is integrate Google Drive onto your laptop. So it literally is another folder that I have within my laptop. So remember that template folder structure that we made? Now, every time you have a new client, all you need to do then is Command C, Command V, and bam, like you can make multiple different folders, and you can make multiple different folders for different clients. So client X, and then you start working with another client, Command C, Command V. So you've got client, I don't know, Y, and so on and so forth. You can easily structure your folders and your assets and save yourself a lot of time. So the next thing I'm going to talk about is something I feel like should have been mentioned at the start of the video. But then again, I'm also aware that if I were to say this at the start of the video, a lot of you guys would have just clicked off of the video and left for good. Which brings me to the fourth common mistake, and that is creators, please read the brief. I'm being serious. Read the brief. Look, I get it. Going through a brief can be painful sometimes. I've seen briefs that are like 30-page long essays, and it is difficult to maneuver through them. I understand, but it's always good practice to clarify things before you start shooting, before you send the assets back. So please read the brief and ask any questions that you might have before you start shooting and sending the content back. Because what's going to end up happening is you send the content back and the client's like, oh, you haven't read the brief. They're not happy. They send it back to you for revision, and it just becomes a very long process. So to kind of avoid that, I'd say at the start, read the brief before you sign the brief. And let me tell you why I've included this in the video. So this one time I was working with a content creator for a client that does skincare, and she was meant to do some content for an eye cream. The brief said it was an eye cream. The box that the product came in also said that it was an eye cream. The product itself also mentioned the fact that this was an eye cream. And when I got the content back, this lady was applying the eye cream on her face. During that moment, I was like, what? What the hell? Like, how can someone miss such an obvious thing? Like, this is literally an eye cream. Why would you apply it to the face? Again, look, that is an extreme example, and it's only happened to me once, but reading the brief also allows you to negotiate your prices, and it also allows you to understand the deliverables expected. And talking about deliverables, the last thing that I want to mention to you guys is upholding promises. Now, most of my experience with content creators has been professional, with the way they've responded, with the way they've upholded deadlines, but there's also been a lot of instances where a deadline was proposed to a content creator and they agreed to the deadline, but on the day of the deadline, we never got the content back. And the thing is, there are people that are relying on that deadline. It could be a case that the creative strategist needs to hit a specific campaign within a certain date, and he or she is trying to get the content back to send it over to the designers for them to design, or the client's launching some new campaign, some new product, some new angle. So every time you make a promise, please ensure that you're upholding the promise. And if you feel like you can't, then communicate that message either at the start, or even if it's the case that a few days before the deadline you feel like, oh, there's a lot more to go through, communicate that clearly well ahead in time. And obviously the exceptions are emergencies. Then yeah, it's fair enough. But if you can deliver the promises that you've made, then your chances of getting repeat work from that client increases massively. In conclusion, make sure you learn about the camera technicals, make sure that you're shooting in a well-lit environment, ensure that you have a structured file management system, please read the brief, and please uphold promises that you make to the client. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Also, if you've been watching up until this point, I have a feeling you're a serious content creator, and I have a proposition for you guys. I'm trying to build a team of a solid 10 to 15 amazing content creators who I'm going to be working with closely and share all the information that I have. Basically trying to build a UGC unit. If you're interested, I'm going to attach a form in the link below. I'd love for you to fill it in and we can have a conversation. But yeah, thanks a lot for watching this video. I'll catch you guys in the next one.